What's up guys, it's Andrew from Motorcycles Off-Road. According to YouTube research, my subs are interested in the best dual sport motorcycle and the Honda CRF300L Rally. Now since I do my videos for you guys, and I thought this was an interesting topic, let's talk about it and break it down. So what I wanted to do is I want to make something a little bit different so I can visually show you guys how I feel the CRF300 Rally stacks up versus other motorcycles, or maybe even the motorcycle that you're riding now. It could be better in certain areas, could be worse in certain areas. So my goal was to make this visually. So let me know if you think I hit the mark with this or not.
Alright guys, before the video, I just wanted to show you guys our new Rally t-shirt we launched about a month ago. If you have a Rally and you think this looks awesome, or you would like to get it for a gift for someone else, you can visit motorcyclesoffroad.com. They come in various different sizes, and we're doing all of our shipping before the holidays. Next, one other announcement. If you could, check out our Patreon. Patreon is a place where I put extra and extended videos from this very channel. You'll get more content, like installing mods to your Honda CRF300L Rally, like this velocity stack, drone shots, extra pictures, and extra videos like this gnarly ski slope that we took with a 300L and a KDX 200. So it's free just to check out, and I got tons of free content there. I just want to make you guys aware, and I appreciate if you check it out. And on to the video. When you think of a dual sport, and maybe even the perfect dual sport, you have to think of a few different things. For me, what makes the biggest impact is something that can be taken off-road, and something you'd be willing to take for a commute all week long to work. I feel the Rally plays this role amazingly here. Problem is a lot of people confuse street legality or street legal dirt bike as a dual sport. Yes, these bikes can be ridden on the road, but they weren't really made for it. Really, it's a company that jumped whatever hoops they had to give it street legality, but the bike is left with something like horrendously short service intervals, for example. So I made this graph. I'm old school. I like to look at stuff. I like to see things visually, and I feel like I can actually express visually what I'm talking about when we look at a graph like this. Firstly, let's give the chart some values. So something like a 10 on the road, but a 0 off-road would be like a Honda Goldwing. I think that makes sense. Now, when you talk about something that's a 10 off-road, but a 0 on-road, maybe something like a Beta 300RR, it's an Enduro. These are just some examples to make a key point of reference. These bikes are kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum. You can't climb rocky ski slopes with a Goldwing, just like you wouldn't take the two-stroke Beta through a cross-country tour. In my mind, good road qualities would be comfort, service intervals, highway capabilities, and storage capabilities. For off-road, I would think something more along the lines of weight, balance, low-end power band, and just overall capabilities like in the mud and sand, etc. So when it comes to a dual sport, as I talked before, you want something that's at least a 5 or 6, which is average or above average in both of these spots. Unfortunately, we'll probably never get a motorcycle that is a 10 in both, but that's fine because every single person has their own specific needs. So the best thing for you to do is find the closest to the unicorn motorcycle for what you need and want. And that might not always necessarily be right in the middle or something like I feel the Honda 300L Rally falls. But for me, fortunately, that seems to be right where the Rally sits as far as that class of bike in my garage. Now let's add some other bikes to this chart a bit to open the discussion so I can maybe make the case to show you how the Rally might be one of the best dual sports you can buy. Firstly, let's think of something like a KTM 390, the Adventure. Great bike overall, very capable on road. It is pretty capable off-road, but when it comes to technical stuff, the bike is pretty limited. Heavy, spoked rims, forward angle seating position, these are the things that kind of mark this bike down. So I'd put this motorcycle probably a 7 or 8 on-road and a 3 to 4 off-road. And that's something the same with like the CB500X. I feel both of these motorcycles are kind of interchangeable and they fall kind of in the same place. Now we could talk about the KTM 500. Great motorcycle, plenty of power. You could ride it on the highway, but it'd be very uncomfortable. And with a 6 to 700 mile service interval, it's definitely not ideal for your normal commuter. For this motorcycle, I would probably say 7 or 8 off-road, but then 4 to 5 on-road. Now we can talk about the CRF300 Rally and why I feel that it falls right in the middle. Okay, so it's a single cylinder engine, right? So it's not amazing on road when it comes to highway, stuff like that. Back roads, it's pretty awesome, but let's just say it's maybe a 6 or a 7. Depending on what you actually need. The benefits here are long service intervals, a huge fuel tank, possibility for ABS, great fuel indicator and gear indicator. Stuff like this I think marks it up maybe closer to a 7. The one thing holding it back is its power and displacement that makes it so it's very hard to overtake cars on the highway, but you could definitely take this bike on the highway and certainly through city or towns with no problem at all. And we go to off-road capabilities. Well, stock the tires aren't awesome and the suspension leaves some to be desired. When compared to the 300L, in the Rally, I can't really see too much of a difference when it comes to off-road performance, and I've showed on this channel that you can take the 300L through almost anything off-road. Now, will this bike be able to compete with something like a very experienced rider and the KTM 500? Of course not.
It's not made to. This is the trade-off with more wet weight through fuel capacity and long service intervals. But the power it does have is nice and down low, and it feels fully capable for what most people are going to do. So to have to say off-road, it's slightly above average. When it comes to dual sport, it's definitely better than XT250 and some other bikes that I reviewed. In my personal opinion, I like it better than the WR, and I like it better than the KLX overall. So I'd have to say this motorcycle fits in somewhere around a 6. Maybe if you really like it, a 7. So this bike being a 7 and a 6 puts it at my point, which I think might make it one of the best dual sport motorcycles you can buy today. Don't think so? Let's think of the other merits. Fuel injection, nice bright headlights, wind protection, and as I mentioned, gear indicator, fuel capacity indicator, and one big thing, a huge aftermarket. There's tons of parts that you can put on this motorcycle to completely customize it and move it around a little bit in this spectrum to completely fit your needs. And in fact, I just did my video of my top 10 upgrades for this particular motorcycle. If you do happen to drive on road 7,000 to 8,000 miles commuting back and forth to work in 1 year, then that will equal 1 oil change. Huge plus compared to a lot of other bikes on the market because the Honda can save you money. I've said it in multiple videos. I feel like if you have a motorcycle and you have another vehicle, every time you take the motorcycle out of your garage, you are saving money. And sometimes people question when I say this, so I'll put some screenshots here, but I pay $100 a year for 3 motorcycles to be insured. I don't know exactly where you guys are from, but a smaller displacement bike like the 300L usually has better insurance rates. That saves you money. Coupled with the 74 miles per gallon that you get on the stock motorcycle really makes this a great dual sport. And if you're using it for commuting all week and you're just using it for fire cuts and gravel roads on the weekend, this bike would do great. Now, if you want to do more off-road, you would have to swap the tires, which moves it more onto the spectrum of the off-road. Let's say maybe a point or so. Swap the tires, exhaust, get an ECU, got a little more low-end power, maybe gear it down a bit. Now you're moving closer to off-road, maybe not so much as a long-distance commuter, but still do fine in a town or on the roads there. So either way you look at it, I feel like the Rally kind of falls in a spot of the perfect dual sport for what a dual sport's actually meant to be used for.
One thing that I have to note that I forgot to put in here is when it comes to off-road, it could actually have to do with the rider. Not so much on-road, right? Because you're only going to take turns so fast, you're only going to drive down the highway so fast. Some rider skill is involved, like with the tail of the dragon type stuff, but overall, on the road's probably the same. But a bike like the Tenere 700, for example, could maybe be closer to a unicorn than like the CRF300L Rally for a lot of different people, as long as they're skilled enough to ride it. And also, it should be noted that a really good rider could take a bike that's not so fast, like the CRF300L Rally, and make it look like a monster compared to somebody who's driving, let's say, a more off-road oriented bike, but doesn't have the skill set. So with this chart, it's kind of hard to define these motorcycles, and this is just an example. So I just kind of wanted to make the chart to kind of fill them in there. Of course, for you, the number could slide a little bit one way or the other, and I just wanted to say that because I didn't want anybody to think I'm completely dunking on their motorcycle just because it's not something that I prefer or not something that I use.
So what I want you to do is let me know what motorcycle you have and let me know what numbers in which it fits in a placement in this graph, and maybe a brief explanation why. I'm always interested to see what people say about new motorcycles, and there's a couple new motorcycles I want to try coming into the next year, and I want some help on figuring out which ones I should use. I definitely want to test drive a DR650. I'm thinking about doing a review of the Royal Enfield Himalayan. I think both of these motorcycles could fit nice in my garage, and I think it would be very interesting to do reviews on these motorcycles. So let me know what you have and what you think is great and where it falls in this graph. And I would love to thank my loyal patrons. You guys are awesome. These guys are supporting the channel. They're getting exclusive content. And just overall, they're my biggest inspiration for making these videos. So thank you to these guys. But that's it for this one. Stay safe out there, guys. We're a small group and we need to stick together. My name is Andrew and this is Motorcycles Off-Road. Thanks for watching.
Yes.